since I made a video. I can't even remember the last time I made one. It was probably, I don't know, 3 months ago now, back before we even started really taking this move right here. Just been really busy with trading, and if you're in the Discord, you see how active I am trading and sharing the setups that I'm looking at and taking. But I figured it was time to make a video. I can't make a video all the time, obviously, with all this trading and everything going on, but I do want to make more videos as we go on, since Bitcoin's really starting to heat up here. But one of the main things that I'm looking at for like a longer term position here, and if you're in the Discord, you'd have seen that I'm looking for like the mid to low 20s for a pullback. And currently, in the last bull market in 2017, like we had a lot of retests of the 21-week exponential moving average. Sometimes we would go through it on a wick just because liquidity was poor back then. I don't know that we would get a wick through it this time with all the demand, but ideally we would get a pullback to this 21-week moving exponential moving average for a really high probability bounce play, if not a continuation of the trend. Which for anyone that's been following me, they know that I'm more of an Elliott wave trader. So when I'm looking at larger trends anyway, I always want to see what the Elliott wave count is to see likely what the structure is, where we're at in that structure, and see how much more upside potential that we have. And so a lot of Elliott wave traders, are looking at this as a potential 1-2. We haven't even put in the 3-4-5 yet, and this would be, let me change the degree on that. So we'll do that as like a micro, and then this would be a 1-2. So it's somewhat of a nested 1-2 1-2 we had right here. So we had a wave 1-2, then we had another 1-2, which is very bullish, and that led to this very big expansion. So we had something similar to that right here, which was our first wave, which would have been our macro wave, which I'll put on there. We had a 1-2 1-2, and then that led to this big expansion, and we had a 3-4 and then a 5 up. And so I'm looking for something like that now, where we're just put in the 3 and we're still looking for the 4 and then a 5 to finish this third wave. So it's just the third of the third. So let me change that to green. So we have something like that I'm looking for here. And so typically, if this is the count that we're looking for, and let me just go ahead and put the higher degree on here too. So this would have been a 1-2, and now we're looking for that 3 and that 4 and then a 5 somewhere in 2022 potentially. That 5 can really push. That 5 can really push and extend. And so this would be putting us at some pretty bullish targets up here, anywhere in a couple $100,000 range for Bitcoin. But one thing that I want to look at, we can start with this big 1-2, is a fib extension. So trend-based fib extension. Make sure you're on log scale. Go from the pivot low, which was the absolute low of the bear market that we made in December 2018. Go to the high that we made in June of 2019 at like 14,000, and then pull it down to the low of the sell-off in March of last year. And so when we do that, it's going to give us some targets, and what I'm going to have to do is go in here to settings on this and make sure that we're in fib scale, because any pivots that you're going to use, and I'm just going to change these to white, so let me do that so they're not as obnoxious. So you need to put it in log scale if this pivot from that point to that point to that point is more of a range that's over like 3x in price, which this was. You want to use log scale because it's going to give you better estimates on your fib extensions on these big moves. So let me get rid of these. I don't need these. Okay, I think that's all that I need. So we had the 1-to-1, which we've went through. Obviously if this is a third wave, we're going to blast through the 1-to-1. If it was going to be some kind of ABC, and this was going to like end up being a longer term correction, we would have rolled over right there, and that would have been like an ABC, and we'd have had to come back down, potentially even make a new low before starting the bull run. which that didn't happen. So, you know, obviously this is a impulsive move right here. This is a third wave impulsive move. We haven't even finished the 5 waves in the third of this third wave yet, all within this big third wave that could potentially go up to, you know, the 2618 up here around 200k. So that's what I'm looking at right now. You can see how so far this move off this major wave 2 low right here has just barely front run the 1618. So typically this is where you would expect a reaction. We've had a little bit of front running right there, and that's what I was looking at. I was really eyeing this hard when we were on lower time frames as we were approaching that area up there, to start looking for bearish structure on the lower time frames to see if we would get some kind of pullback to this 21-week EMA, because we really had a string of like a lot of green candles right here. You just can't go like that forever without a pullback. So I was looking for the pullback around that 1618 because that was going to be a high time frame major macro level based on this swing here. And so now that we've pulled back off of that, like I said, I'm looking for the 21-week EMA to get hit, which is around low to mid 20s. If it takes another week to get down there, it could be around 24, you know, by the time this EMA keeps moving up and catching up with price. So I'd be looking for like a wave 4 somewhere in there. And then obviously a wave 5 could be something kind of choppy, you know, it just kind of barely takes out this high, and then, you know, that puts in this wave 3. And then we have to put in some kind of more complex correction, something kind of like this, where we just take out the high and then we kind of bounce around a little bit and really give the this EMA time to catch up like this, and then all of that structure right there would essentially put in something like this. And just take all this with a grain of salt. I can't predict, you know, these waves very well, but this just, it gives me something to think about and something to look for based on the price action that we have and what I've seen in the past where we ride this 21-week EMA. It would make sense if we went sideways for, you know, months. I would say almost until summer, if we just barely took out the high here and then chopped around, because you gotta remember this is resistance right here, the 1618. And there are other factors as well that I'm not going to go into, but I think if it chopped around like this bullishly, it would allow for altcoins to really run too. I'm primarily all in Ethereum, which I think everybody's seen that if they're in the Discord. I'm holding all Ethereum because the ETH BTC pair is just so bullish right now. I think if Bitcoin does something like this, Ethereum is going to go like 2 or 3x in price over the span of the next few months. And so I'm looking for something kind of like this to resolve before we go up for this 5th wave to finish this 3rd later in the year. You know, going into Q4, Q3, Q4, we have like a really nice run where we pump really hard and get above 100,000, and then we have some kind of correction, and then, you know, decide how high the end of this whole bull market is going to go. So that's kind of what I'm looking at from the bullish, just very bullish perspective based on the count that we have right now. So I'm definitely looking for a buy around here, and I'll get into the lower time frames. Here. Let me go down to like a daily. So, you know, taking into account what I've just said, if we're looking for a dip down, let me see if I can add the EMA on here for the weekly so we can see it on this chart as well. So moving average exponential. We'll add this. Let's see. So I'll add the 21. Nope, not the 21. I want to do the 147. Actually, I forgot they updated this, so you can actually pick the weekly and just do the 21. So you can see the moving average moving up right there. I'm going to change it to white so we can see it a little bit better. You can see that catching up, and so I'll just take that off. That's kind of what I'm expecting it to do, is just to kind of squeeze in here for a while and let that 21-week EMA really catch up. And so I'm looking to buy this dip right here, and typically for a wave 4. So if we're looking at this as a wave 2 to 3 right here, we would want to pull a fib as well on this. So we'd pull a fib, and let me take off some of these that we don't need that. We need to add the 382. It's not going to go that deep. So typically a wave 4 will go between the 382 and the 0.5. And so that kind of gives you a little bit of confluence right there with this moving average as it curls up. So if that moving average is curling up like that, we could get something like this, and we come down in this zone. So that's really why I'm looking for low to mid 20s. You have a little bit of structure right here that can offer some confluence of support as well. If it really blasts through that, we could get a wick all the way down to that support right there, which would be around the 0.5 as well. So you could have a wick that goes below the 21 week EMA before we get a bounce, and so that would definitely be the play I would be looking for, is to get in right there, maybe have a stop. I don't even know that you'd probably just put it somewhere down below the 0.5 and then have a move up. That's if you're just playing this really passively. A move back up to the macro target up here that I showed that we front ran the first time, you could have that as a target, because I think we're gonna hit that on a bounce. But this is if you're just playing it real passively, have a loose stop. But if you're managing it like me on the way down, if we get this dip down here, I'm going to be looking to get in with a much tighter stop on the lower time frames to try to catch the bounce and get a much higher risk to reward. So we'll see if I can go down to a little bit lower time frame here. I'm going to get rid of this stuff, get rid of that, go down to a little bit lower, like a 4 hour now, and try to see what's going on here. So you can see we have a resistance. If we were to just draw, a resistance trend line on that, and we're running into support multiple times down here. So how many times? I don't know how many times this can hold. We'd have to look and see if this is going to roll over right here, and we're not going to end up breaking up out of this descending triangle and do something like that. Bitcoin usually doesn't do that, and typically, at least all the tops that I've seen, it has to resolve downward. So I would be kind of surprised if we do this, but if we do, I'd be looking to buy on the first pullback here and then target up here, because there's just too many buyers and we're not going to get here yet without running back up to here first before having a bigger pullback to the 21 week EMA. And so that's kind of what I'm keeping an eye on, but I'm not shorting this. I'm not doing anything right now. I really just want to see it either break down here to complete this, or to break out of here, and then I would be looking for potential long trade at that point up to there with a tight stop. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or trying to keep up with my ideas, you can just jump in the Discord and find me there. So I will see you guys next time.